Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new SD Times Live micro webinar series with enterprise value stream management company ConnectALL. Today and over the next 6 episodes, we're going to be talking about pattern thinking and value stream automation patterns. With me again is Lance Knight. He's president and COO of ConnectALL. Thanks for being here, Lance. Appreciate it.
Hey, always great to have these micro webinars with you, Dave.
Yep, I think they're great too. So let's get started. Let's have you introduce this concept of pattern thinking and how it applies to value stream.
Yeah, I've been thinking about this for a while and bringing it out and starting to talk about pattern thinking and how to look for patterns in value streams and introducing some new concepts that we've had relevant to value stream management and how they can help you look for areas to improve and use some lean principles, right? And so in this series, we want to talk about what are the best patterns for value to look for in DevOps or to look for in bringing value into the organization, connecting code and so on. It's just so many different things that you look at when you think about patterns and what they can do for you. We've got a great series of these specific to industries. Like, what are the top patterns to look for if you want to reduce risk with DevSecOps? Or what are the top patterns you need to ensure that you're delivering value in your value stream? And then also taking it all the way to the point where what are the patterns in the analytics that you're going to look for in order to improve or remove waste or eliminate bottlenecks and so on. But here, I just want to introduce this whole concept, right? And talk about some of these newer concepts that I've been talking about with you into this. And, I always say this, I think you've probably heard me say this a million times over, maybe only 1,000 or 2,000 times, but software development and delivery is chaotic. It's unpredictable. I used to call it that holy grail of predictability, and we're still looking for that. We're still trying to understand, why can't I get stuff out in the time I need and understand it, right? And I'm saying that we probably could use pattern thinking to turn that chaos into predictability, to get some control of it. Because in all of these things that you're doing to develop software, these patterns emerge. And I know we talk about value stream management and value stream mapping, but I think these go hand in hand, and you have to use some of this, knowledge in order to do these things. So, and another new concept I wanted to introduce is this here: the noise in your value stream. Now, people are like, well, what do you mean noise in your value stream? Well, systems all have noise, but noise is, copying tickets, sending 10,000 emails, having to have too much documentation, too many collaborations. All this noise that you have because you haven't automated or you're not capturing information creates what I call value stream noise. And there's feedback noise in there as well, because one email creates two, creates three, and you're not collaborating. You're just slightly communicating. And what's interesting is I sat down and analyzed this. If you're a small development shop, maybe you've just got maybe 10 people. That noise is very manageable. But as you grow, you start to employ more and more people that are just managing the noise in your value stream. So if you have a large organization, there's tons of overhead, tons of noise going back and forth, tons of feedback loops. And are they all necessary? And can some of them be automated? If you're not automating them, that's going to reduce flow, and that's going to hurt how you get software out the door in time to market and slow things right down for you. So this new concept called value stream noise is really interesting as I started to decouple what that was from our perspective. And something more I'm going to be talking a lot more about.
Right.
So where does systems thinking come into play here? And this is feedback noise. Feedback noise is, I send you an email about something, you put it in your system. Then I send an email saying I did it. And all this data and information's flowing, and it's just slowing you down. What I've come to realize. And again, the larger the organization, the more the feedback noise, whether it's needed or not. So I wanted to introduce pattern thinking. And one of the things I found interesting as I started to decouple this is these patterns exist, a lot of them, in every software development delivery area. These patterns are there. Now, you can take a look at how they've solved the pattern, and they might have too much governance. And I can tell you, if they have too much governance in one area, they're going to have too much governance in others throughout the organization. So you start seeing these patterns. It's very interesting when you start to look deep into this stuff. And what are the tools I can use to do this? Well, I always talk about systems thinking, lean principles, value stream mapping, and a systems design to help you kind of find the feedback loops, look for patterns, understand what's really going on. And so we actually set this up, which is systems thinking. What is it? I welcome people to go out and study it and so on, and ask me. I'll give you some places you can look it up. But really, it's a set of elements that are in your value stream or in your system that work together in order to create something. Well, that's in software and development and delivery. We maybe call these silos or artifacts or whatever that is. And you can start to see how they interconnect to your value stream. I've done a lot of talk on how it works and how you can look at your system to do it. You can look that up later. If anybody has any questions, we have to answer it. But there's different types of loops here. There's feedback loops, causality loops, all these things that make things slow down. A lot of these loops are even noise where they're not needed. So why are you still doing those, right? Maybe if you take a look at it, you can find a pattern and eliminate it. And of course, I always talk about lean thinking and lean thinking. The reason why I like lean thinking, I've never really told people why I really like it. I really like it because it's a vocabulary to communicate, right? I like it because it's lean. You're trying to reduce waste, but by saying reduce waste, it's a vocabulary that people understand, and we can then communicate about what we need to do, right? So when you talk about the 7 S's and those different things, or automating Jadeco, it's just a vocabulary of looking at things in a way to be more efficient and communicate better on what you're trying to do when removing waste. Now, this is kind of neat. I want to talk about this. This is back to systems thinking. So we use this as part of pattern thinking. Now, some of the elements that flow around in your value stream are these things: bugs, defects, tests. We call them artifacts, but they're all there to help develop software, and they fit throughout these loops, right? So it's really interesting. If you look at these in this way, here's what you're collaborating around, and they're communicating with all these different loops, and there's a lot of noise. How many emails do you send to discuss a bug? And how many systems did you have to key that into? And how many reports did you have to write against it, right? So all this is like noise that slows down your flow. And then, of course, then we talk about value stream mapping. And this is the governance thing I've talked about for a while. It's kind of your value stream at a high level. But I always say it's not enough because this never talks about those loops, those feedback loops, how the communication. So if you want to improve flow, map your value stream. And if you're doing it with materials and manufacturing, cool. But this is different. Software development is different. There's more collaboration going on. There's more noise in the value stream than just raw materials and parts flowing. So use a systems diagram that shows how all these things are breaking up and working together. And then you start to see noise. And then in there, between those two, you'll start to see patterns. And at ConnectALL, we're talking about a certain set of patterns that exist in everybody's value stream. And you should think about, how can I automate those patterns? How can I look at metrics in a certain way to see the patterns for improvement, right? So these are just a couple examples. We have I don't know how many value stream automation patterns there are out there. We had a lot of trouble at ConnectALL coming up with them because it becomes unbounded. There's so many different patterns. Like I particularly like the DevSecOps pattern, where I'm taking vulnerabilities right back into development for mean time to repair to slow down. And as you look at each one of these patterns, benefits come out, and you're solving other business problems and you're being more efficient. Now, if not, then somebody would have to key that into their backlog, or there'd be some governance in there. And so this is an example of some of the patterns where we've been looking at. Like, this is a change request pattern where these come in, tests happen, and then it triggers a build. All these things to automate in your value stream, but to help eliminate that noise. Now, I know I only had 10 minutes, and I want to be more collaborative with you during this day, but I just kind of stole the show, didn't I?
Yeah, but that's quite okay. I do want to ask you one question, though. What role in the organization would be responsible for, looking at all the metrics and trying to find the patterns, and then communicating that to the rest of the team?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I know they're trying to create value stream managers in organizations, and I think that would be here. But this is more CI. This is like continual improvement. Mm-hmm. This is somebody who understands lean principles and so on. It would have to be more at a manager or director level, somebody in that kind of capacity that could affect change.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. All right. Well,
like a director of something or another, a director of software development delivery over the whole thing or something like that. But I just introduced a lot of concepts. I'm sure you have a lot of questions you want to follow up on me about. However, guess what? Micro webinar, man.
Yeah, we'll get to them next time. So that's a good segue. Lance Knight, again, President and COO of ConnectALL. Thanks again for your time. And to our audience, so this is the first of a 6-part series. And in the coming sessions, we'll be talking about top patterns that can connect things like business value to development, governance and compliance, DevSecOps, all these topics. And then we'll talk about some top automation patterns for things like DevOps, delivery, portfolio, even ITSM. And we hope you'll join us for all of those. So until next time, I'm Dave Rubinstein, Editor-in-Chief of SD Times. So long for now.
Thank you.